So, folks, this is why the radio is the most dangerous weapon in the world, because we cannot reply. People can just spit out whatever they want. So, at around 1 a.m. this morning, on 98.5 FM Radio Montreal, there's a caller that calls in, okay? And he said, good thing the Russians backed down during the Cuban Missile Crisis because the Russians would have lost. And he says, because back then, the US had more nuclear weapons, okay? So first of all, how does he know that? Nobody knows what the Russian had, okay? So it's the same thing with Hitler. He thought that the Russian would lose, that he had a bigger army, but in the end he lost, okay? So nobody knows that. So here in the East End on Hochelaga, East End of Montreal on Hochelaga Street, we have a military base there, okay? And as a truck driver, I went to do some deliveries there. Do you think that you go on a military base just like that? No, no, no. So do I know what's hidden over there? No. You think the guy who phoned this morning knows what's on the military base? No. Do you think that the U.S. knows what we have? No. Nobody knows nothing about nothing, okay? So this is just speculation. And also, there's not just the fact of a nuclear weapon. Let's say in the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, the U.S. would have hit Russia, okay? There's Russian people live in the U.S., okay? So during the Second World War, that's why the U.S. put the Japanese in concentration camps, because they were afraid that the Japanese, right, they would strike everything. Okay, but if in the 60s, we're not talking about 1945 anymore, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, if the U.S. would have launched nuclear wars on Russia, you can be damn sure that there'd be no more USA either, because the Russians and the Slavic people that live in the USA would have torn the US apart. That's for sure, okay?